Hey guys, welcome to the second day of the web course, and today we'll be looking at HTML and we'll be doing that resume creating project. So yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, I've opened Visual Studio here, and there are two ways of starting, like opening a project. That is, one, you can open a folder right here. You can open folder and then select which folder you're going to open and then open that. Or there I have another method that I prefer personally. Say for example I create a folder here saying LLH, and I right click on it, and there's an option called open with other application and open with Visual Studio. I'm just gonna close this one. So when you do that, Visual Studio opens that folder and it shows you all the files that are inside it. Right now we don't have anything, but if anything is there, the files will show up here. Also, sometimes it shows the last open file from that folder. So if you were working on that folder earlier, it will show up here. So let's create a new file. Now for HTML code, the extension of the file is .html. So if you want your HTML code to work, you need to put some name .html, and it is best to put index.html as default for your main page. It's a convention that every web developer use, and that's why we can make software based on it. So like if someone else looks into your project and wants to figure out which one is the first web page that pops out, naming that web page index.html would help them out. It's not just people, it also helps software. So when you're doing backend, you will come across creating servers, and servers also use the same technique to find out which one is the first page that should be shown, right? So naming your main the first web page that should show up index.html is important. And HTML document, you need to I told you in the last presentation, so the server can only send textual information, right? And it might send text, it might send your HTML content with some other content in before it, like the server might send some sort of information here and then some sort of information here along with your HTML code. So the browser needs to understand where the HTML code starts and where it ends, and that's why we give this. So all your HTML code should be between these two tags. So always begin with that. And an HTML document has mainly two parts. First is the head, and second is the body. Now the head, wait, I hope this is much more clear. Anyway, so the head part of the HTML document is something that normal users won't see. It more contains information for the browser. So if the HTML content is being showed up inside a browser and you want to convey some information to it, we'll look at some of the information we can convey to the browser later. This is where you put such things, and one of the most common things is the title. My resume, let's say. So this tells browser that my the HTML content that you're looking at, it should be titled my resume. It won't show up in the this title won't show up in your main view, rather it will show up on the tab. I'll show a demo here. So I'm opening this in my browser. I have Firefox installed. So yeah, we have nothing over here because we haven't put anything in the body, right? The body is empty. However, we put this title inside the head, so that's why it shows up here. So this is the um, purpose for the title tag. Also, it helps like yeah, I'm not getting into that right now. So yeah, the title tag helps you name your HTML document and usually shows up on the tab here. Like, let me if you refresh, see, that's what appears here. So that's basically what the title tag is for, and we'll be using head for various other purposes, but for now this is the most important thing. And there are some other things that as a beginner you shouldn't really be worried about, but let's just I'll just cover them fast. You won't beginners won't really be able to understand this, but I'll still brush up on it. Yeah, I'll be using W3 Schools a lot. I could create a presentation by copying all this content into my presentation and then just showing you the presentation, but I want to show you take examples from this website and use them while we're learning, because I want you to do the same too. I think I've said before that I have like 6 years experience in web designing, but I still find myself coming back to this website to refer, because there's like a lot of things you to learn in HTML and you're not going to remember all of them, so you still might need to refer from time to time. So I use this HTML reference all the time, and this learn HTML option is for if you don't know HTML at all, you need to head on here, and if you already know and you're just referring to something, you can head on here, or you can just Google. And usually when you Google anything related to the web, W3 Schools is what pops up first. So let's head into HTML, and there'll be a section for head, I guess. It should be there. HTML head. So it's used for a lot of stuff. Okay, these are some other informations that you can convey to the browser. One is charset UTF-8. Charset is basically a set of characters that might appear on your page. So if there'll be some special characters that you might use on your page, and specifying this, make sure the browser knows that you will be using those special characters. This thing is generally a good thing to have. And then description, I'll show you what description is a bit later. So description, I'm just going to add resume of something like that. So these two are important when it comes for not just the browser, but it's also important for search engines like Google and all that, because these two information is the ones that show up during your search. Say uh, I'm just searching randomly for like HTML formatters. So yeah, this one, if you see, this is the title of that page. So this is HTML page here, that the if you go into the link, you'll see the HTML page. We're not going to this content that you see here, the search engine takes it from the title of the web page, and that content that you see here, it is probably in the description, this meta tag of the um, of that page. So if you look at the code of that page, that's probably what you're going to see. Let's see if I'm right here. See, its title is HTML formatter and description online. Okay, that's not the that's not the description, is it? Free online tool. Yeah, sometimes Google takes that code, takes whatever this is, or it takes it from the content. Yeah, sometimes Google does that. Instead of taking it from the description, they'll take it from the content of the web page. I don't know, they have all sorts of different rules, but yeah, if the HTML format, I think it's because they didn't mention HTML formatter in the description. Yeah, they didn't mention HTML formatter. If they had used these two words in the description, probably the description will come here. So basically that's what the description is for, and it's a good thing to have. Similarly, keywords are words that you expect your users to type when they are searching for your web page in the search engine. So some of the keywords that people, let's say I publish my resume, and I want people to see this when they search for something, right? When they search for a thing, I want my resume to be shown. So what would said people search for when they want my resume? One thing would be resume, another thing would be my name, web designer, developer, all that. So whatever a person might search for when they are searching for your HTML page, you can put in the keywords, and the search engine would use that. Next is author. A lot of people don't use these nowadays because it's basically pointless, especially when you're working in a team. So, but if you're not, you can do this, it's fine. And I don't want this. So yeah, these are the most common information passed to the browser. And another important meta tag is this one. Before we use this, I'll show you what it actually means. Your audience, like the people going to your website, will not always use a large screen like a laptop or desktop computer. Nowadays a lot of people use their phones rather than their laptops, right? So you need to make sure that your website is, it looks good on both um, on large screens and mobile phones, right? Because nowadays a lot of people, actually most people are using mobile phones to browse the internet rather than the laptop or desktop. That's like huge shift, and we have to make sure that our websites are optimized for both. So when a website is optimized for both, it's not as responsive, and when it's not, it's called unresponsive. And I'll show you an example of unresponsive. Like Google here right now, it is unresponsive. So on a mobile screen, this is how, okay, it might not be, it isn't true actually, because Google has another way of being responsive, but this is how an unresponsive website actually looks like. Google is not unresponsive, again, it's not, but I'm just using this as an example. So when a website isn't unresponsive and you open it, it isn't responsive, and you open it up on a mobile phone, this is how you'd see, you will only see a part of the web page, and you'll have to scroll not just up and down but also sideways, right? Which is undesirable. You don't want your audience to do that. So in order to prevent that from happening, this you need to include this tag. So yeah, I think we covered all the important tags. Oh, W3 has an example. This is an unresponsive website, this is a responsive website. So this, in most cases, this thing is the only thing, only change you need to make your website responsive like this. So yeah, so these are the most important things you need to include in your head. For VS Code, there is a shortcut to do all this. You just need to put an exclamation mark and hit enter, and these would already be there. See, so it's that easy. The other meta tags that I show you, it is actually optional. It's good to have, but it's optional when you're just starting, right? These three are the most important ones, so that's why VS Code has only those three, and we just move on with that. So now coming to the body part of our page. So right now there's nothing showing up on the content side, and that's because we don't have anything on the inside the body. So if I add a heading 1, which I introduced yesterday, or just my name is fine. So when I put that and refresh, see, it shows up here. So whatever is visible to your users, it should come inside the body tag. Now HTML supports headings up to 6 of them. So we have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, 4, 5, 6, same here. Always make sure you close with the same tag. If you open h2 and then end with h3, that's an error. Don't do that. So yeah, be careful when you do that. Always, as a best practice, whenever you open a tag, make sure you also close the tag immediately and then start putting the content there. So let's check out this. So yeah, HTML offers up to 6 different headings. So and this is the normal text. Now people might use these h1, h2, h3 for changing the font size. There's other ways for changing the font size other than this. so you don't have to be concerned about font size. This h1, h2, h3 basically means this is the main heading, this is a subheading, this is subheading, all that stuff. It is for that hierarchy rather than the font size. You can always change the font size, that's not what's important here. What's important here is whenever you say you put 3. Okay, I'll just change the content to make it clear. So this is the main heading of a page, this is the subheading, this is some contents, this is another subheading, and let's just add more content here. So this is what headings are used for. It's just mentioning that this h2, this subheading comes under this main heading, and this subheading also comes under this main heading. So if I put another h1 here, any other following h2s will come under this h1. Preferably to have only one heading, heading 1 in per page. That's something that's recommended. So this is important because Google sometimes, when you search for, let's say, top 10 languages, see, they show this list. Probably it isn't like a list in the website. See, when you look at this, what Google does, it is analyzes the h1, h2 tags, and it realizes that this is the heading, so it shows here, shows up that, and then it shows the subheadings, because Google realizes that the subheadings is what the people are looking for here. So because of that clear structure, Google is able to understand that these are the things that people are looking for, and so what they do is they just take the subheadings and create a list and put it over here, and if you search for more items, that goes to the website. So yeah, so structuring your HTML document clearly like this helps you with the search engine a lot. Now I've been talking about the search engine thing a lot, and it has a term for it. It's called search engine optimization. So it is making your website as friendly as possible for search engines like Google to analyze your document and make sure if your document contains the relevant information that the user is searching for right now. Google will make sure that only after it can analyze your content properly can they make sure that if your content is more relevant than another web page's content. So if you do all this properly, your web page will show up first rather than later. So make sure you do that. So preferably just put only one heading once and then use heading 2. You will be able to change the font sizes later. I'll show you how. So yeah, let's head back to our task of creating a resume. So I'm guessing most of you are right now studying in a college, school, or whatever. So whenever you're making a resume, okay, I'm going to give you a resume tips now. When you're making a resume, it's best to put educational. Just put the education first, and inside education I'm going to mention my college. and I'm just going to put mention that so that's that, and I'm just gonna copy that heading and then mention my school. I already mentioned the place here. So that's one, and next I'm just going to add some of my professional experience. Again, S3. So here I'm going to introduce another tag called I tag, or I'll just put inside a paragraph first. Now the I tag makes, I'll show you what it does. So if we head down to the page here, so the I tag makes your text italic. There's another way for doing that, but this is the quickest way. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. Before I add more content there, I'm just going to put one more animations. Front end developer. So yeah. Oh wait, why is, oh okay. If you see here, even humble animation is in italics, and the mistake I did here was I didn't close the I tag, instead I opened another one, so everything following it, like if I do that, just show you an example. Everything following this would become italic. So yeah, like I said earlier, make sure you close your tags. Fine. So other than this, you can also there's another tag called B tag, which makes your content bold. Let's say, let's just highlight these two information. See, so there's the B tag, there's the I tag. You can use the, again there's other ways of doing this, but it's using CSS, so I'm not going to talk about it right now. I'll talk about it later tomorrow. So these are some of the basic HTML tags that you can use, and okay, so let's head on to the next major one. It is the list. I'll take the list here. So there are basically two common types of lists that we use, that is the unordered list and the ordered list. So the unordered list is basically just bullets, and the ordered list is this 1 2 3 4, that kind of list, a numbered list. So we can use both. There's another type of list, but it isn't really commonly used. So this the in a list, the most important thing you need to know is, uh, first you need a tag that shows there's a list, and then there's another tag that shows this is a list item. So those are these two tags. In our case, we're going to do an unordered list, so we have ul, and all list items are going to be li. So here it's a list of 3 beverages, and so it is an unordered list, and inside there are 3 list items. So that's this. Okay, so here I'm going to mention what I did during this cybersecurity analyst job that I did. I'm just going to close the ul tag here first, and then inside li. So before I do that, I'm just going to put some random text first, just to show you how the list works. So see, that's how you add the list. Now Visual Studio Code has a shortcut for doing this. I think you've already seen me do it. Like, instead of writing the tag like this, putting the bracket and then taking the tag, you can just write the content of the tag and it will show you did you mean a ul tag, and if you press that, or if you just hit enter when that shows up, you will get the tag here. Similarly, if I do that for li, it comes as a list item. So I know that I want 3 list items in my list. Hold on one second. So I know beforehand that I want 3 list items in my list. So I can easily do that by doing ul the greater than symbol li. So if I just do this, what happens is it creates a unordered list, and it puts 1 list item into it. So let's say I need more than that, in which case I just have to put the star and 3. So what this does is it creates 3 li tags and inside 1 ul. This indicates inside, and if I press tab, 3, and this thing shows up, and if I press it, it will show 3 list items. So it's a handy shortcut, and if you can use it for any other tags as well. So h1, or if I want a paragraph and I want the content to be italic, so I put p and I, so this will come as italic. So you can use that for all sorts of tags. Just make sure that the abbreviation shows up here, so you can see what you're going to get here. They'll show you how it expands over here. So yeah, I'm just going to add. So yeah, it shows up here. And that's basically the UL tag. So now let's explore the other tag, which is the oh yeah this thing. You can also change the type of bullets that show up. For example, for that you need something called an attribute. An attribute mentions some sort of here style is an attribute. No, I think we should let's not get into it right now. So ordered HTML list, that's the next type of list, and let me see, I'm going to add it over here, or I'm just going to add OLLI, this time is 2. So this is the format for our ordered list, the same as the UL, it's just that just the O is the difference. And over here I'm going to say so yeah, it shows up as this. So this is basically what the list is, and yeah, so let's move on to some other formats. There are some other tags that I'm not going to cover. They're like they're not usually used. So okay, let's just head on to tables for now. You might not need a table in a resume. Do you really need a table in resume? No. You might not need a table in your resume, but let's just create one. Okay, I'm just going to use this to create a table. So the table is created using this table tag, and you know that in tables you have rows and columns, right? Here the row is the most major part, so you just divide the tables into different rows. So the tr tag here is represents one row, so whatever comes inside this is inside a row. So when I put 3 of these here, it means a 3 rows should show up. Oh yeah, we haven't formatted it completely. And then comes TD. Now the TD represents a cell inside your table, so let's just say name. Contacts. I'm going to do the same for the other rows, just so you can see. So yeah, this creates a table. So in the first row we have first name, last name, contact. Okay, let me just change here. Going to change this to say John Smith. It's a common name that we use. John Smith at gmail.com. So yeah, it shows up as a table. So here, if you can see, in the first row we have first name, last name, contact. That's what shows up here, first name, last name, contact. The second row we have Jagannath Bhatt and my email. Second row Jagannath Bhatt email. Similarly, third row John Smith and johnsmith@gmail.com. So third row. So it goes on like this. If you want to add another row, you just add another tr tag and the 3 cells here. Let's add something. Just going to randomly put some characters, and it shows up. So that's how we create a table. Right now you can't see any of the borders, and in order to do that we have to use the border property. I think it's best if we leave that to CSS. I mean, there's two ways of doing this. You can also do it with an attribute here, which they're not showing. I think even W3 Schools is telling you just have to use style tags. Anyway, in order to add these borders, you'll need to learn CSS, which we'll be covering tomorrow. So I'm not going to do that today. So yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this table because I don't really need that in my resume. So yeah, that's that. Let's say I want to link my websites here. So but.dev, let's say I want to put my Facebook ID. And okay, you don't actually put Facebook IDs on your resume. I'm just okay, I'll just add proper ones. For example, LinkedIn in.com/in/Jagannath. But I'm just making sure that this is actually my link. Yeah. So guys, if you don't have a profile in LinkedIn, just like it's a social network just like Facebook, and it's just like Facebook. It's just the difference is it's used by professionals rather than it's used for professional purposes instead of just putting random stuff up. It usually has like a proper this profile usually has whatever you put inside your resume, all your experiences, what have you done so far, where have education section, your certificates and all that. So if you don't have a LinkedIn account, I recommend you create one. And let's say I'm also going to add my GitHub .com/Jagannath. So these 3 links are good to have. And another thing you have to notice here is if you put 3 items like this, it's not going to show up like that. It's not going to show one under the other. It's just going to show as one line. If you want it to show as one line under the other, you need to add a break. This is a break tag. Now unlike other tags, the break tag doesn't have a closing tag. It just has it opens and closes itself. So that's why it is in this format. It doesn't have a closing tag like this. It doesn't need a closing tag. It's just put at the end wherever you want a break, you just add it. So this is the format. You can also put this, but you can also put it like this. It works, but since you have Prettier installed, it probably goes to this. This is the standard format for adding a tag that doesn't have a closing tag. So yeah, so if you add this, it goes one after the other. You can also put it inside the paragraphs or wherever you want, basically. If I refresh this, see, it comes in a different line. So that's what the per tag is for. So I have added 3 links here, and but here if you look at it, if I have to go to that web page, I have to copy that and open link in new tab. Okay. Firefox recognized this as a link, so that's why they showed open link into new tab. Okay, so here it didn't recognize that this is a link, so it isn't showing that option. So in this case, the user has to copy and then paste, which you don't want. So you need to provide a link. So on the HTML tag for a link, I think I covered this in the last video, is the A tag. The A tag stands for anchor, which is another name for link. And inside the A tag, you need to mention an attribute called href, which shows which website you need to go into. So one thing you need to remember here is if you're if you're leading a person from your web page to your website to another website, you need to always mention HTTP or HTTPS before the URL. So now it becomes a link. It becomes a link, and whenever a person presses it, it leads to the page. So I'm just going to change the content here. I'm going to make it website, my website. So the text here is my website, and it takes you to wherever. I'm just going to isolate this. So when you do this, whatever comes between the anchor tags here is what shows up here, and what you mention in the ref attribute, this thing is called an attribute. When you put something like this inside a tag, it's called an attribute. So the ref is an href is an attribute inside the anchor tag. Similarly, h2 also has some attributes which will be covering, which is mostly used for styling purposes, but only some tags like this have attributes like these for other than styling purposes. So whatever you mention inside the href, that's the link that would be opened when a person presses this. So I'm going to do the same for the rest of the links. Ref. I'm only going to put the link inside ref, and for the content I'm just going to mention LinkedIn profile /a. And similarly for GitHub, and I'm going to put GitHub as the GitHub profile. So there are 3 links here. I can put it here. What's the problem? Okay, yeah. This didn't load because I didn't put the HTTPS here. HTTPS or HTTP, whatever. It should work now. So yeah, and while we're talking about links, the anchor tag has another attribute that we should be worried about. We should be knowing, which is the target attribute. Now if you noticed, when I press the link, it opens up in the same tab, which is something that you might not want, because people might go to that website and then stay in that website rather than your website. So in order to prevent that, if you want your link to open up in another tab, you put the target attribute and put slash blank. So I put the target attribute for my website link. So whenever I press my website link, it opens up in another tab. If you don't mention the target slash blank, the link opens up here itself. So I'm going to add this target slash blank over here. On all three of my links, and now if I open it, it opens up in a new tab rather than the same tab as your website. Okay, so now let's jump into the next HTML tag. Okay, I think this is probably going to be the last one I'm going to cover here. This is the image tag. So it basically lets you put an image into your website, and this is the format. And like the ref tag, it has some attributes which I'll be covering soon, and it has two main attributes. It has other attributes, but these two are the main attributes, and we'll be looking at them. So if by default, if you put an image, let me put an image in front of my name, above my name. So if you type image, it comes with the two default attributes in VS Code by default. So in order to add an image, you need to select an image and put it inside your folder which we created earlier, right? In my case, I created LLH. I actually meant to create LFH, but whatever. I'm going to choose one of my pictures, then go back. Okay, so I'm just going to put dp here. Okay, dp.jpg. Okay, so that is the name of the file. So copy the name of the file and put it inside source. So in order to put an image, again select the image, copy it to the folder that you're using, and then copy the full name. In Windows it might not show .jpg, in which case you have to go to properties and then find what is the type, or it might show up here. So if in Windows it is not showing the extension, make sure you know the extension, and then you copy it here. And so this is, so the source attribute is used for mentioning the file. If let's say if you're putting it inside, say, another folder, let's say I'm putting it inside images, in that case you need to put images slash dp.jpg. So this is the basic URL that you have to follow, because here you're going inside images and then you find the dp. So first images, then slash, then dp.jpg. That's the format you have to follow for URLs. And so this is the URL of our image, and that goes inside the source attribute. So next, the alt. So you use the alt in case the image doesn't load. Say for some reason the image doesn't load, and what the browser does is, instead of the image, it shows whatever the whatever is the content here. So I'm just going to put Jagannath's picture. So let's say for some reason the picture doesn't loads up. So instead of the picture, this is what the website will replace the picture with this text. Let's just see the output of this. Okay, so it's a pretty huge image. So in order to change that, I'm just going to put height, which is another attribute. I'm just going to say 100. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so yeah, those are some these are the attributes. You can also put width if you want. I'm not going to put that. I'm just going to put a height for now. It works well. Let me see, 240 perhaps. Yeah, that looks good. So that's another attribute. So let's say I'm going to get rid of this file. In that case, see, it shows that it shows the content of the alt, whatever is inside the alt attribute, that's what shows up here. Because the image, I got rid of the image, so the image is not there. So what the browser does is, instead of showing the image, which it cannot find, it shows the content of the alt attribute. So this is what should, the alt attribute is mainly for. But nowadays it has another use, which is if blind people have a thing called a screen reader. So blind people cannot see images when they're browsing websites. They cannot see images. So they have a thing called a screen reader, which reads the content of a website for them. So what the screen reader does is, when it encounters an image, it looks at the alt tag and it reads out the content of the alt tag. So because you cannot read out what an image is, right? You cannot do that. Instead, what the screen reader does is, it will read Jagannath's picture whenever that picture comes up. So I'm just going to add my picture back. JPG. So yeah, so when a screen reader goes through this is how we see it, but this is probably how a screen reader sees it. It skips all the tags and then it just starts reading the content. So over here it will probably start reading Jagannath Bhatt, my website, LinkedIn profile and all that. Oh, I forgot this tag. Okay. Okay, HTML comes in a new version called HTML5. So yeah, this is like the latest version of HTML, and if you want to use that, you need to mention this on the top of your web page. On the top of your web page, and so basically what HTML5 does is it introduces some new tags which I actually don't want to get into right now because it's really complicated. It's mainly for these media tags like video, audio and all that. I'm not going to get into it. If you want to check, you can check it out, right? You can check it out in W3 Schools. I actually want you to do that yourself, okay? Because there's a lot of tags in HTML, and I'm not going to be able to cover all of them. So some of them you have to refer yourself, and you just go through this website. There's like a lot of sections. You just go through them, and I know you're not going to remember all of them at once, but just see what all options you have. It's best to know what all features are there inside that you can use, and then you just have to remember them. You don't have to remember the tag or the format or anything. You just have to remember that yes, there is such a feature. I can add image to my website, I can add video to my website, I can add audio to my website, and whenever you want to add or like you can add geolocation or drag and drop. All these features are there. You just have to remember that these features are there, and when you want to add that feature, just come to w3schools.com and then just check it out, right? I do that all the time. Even though like I said before, even though I have 6 years experience, I still find myself coming to this HTML reference and then checking out whatever I need. I still copy code from w3schools.com. So it doesn't make you any less of a web designer. So it is the same, because nowadays there's like a lot of things for you to remember if you're a programmer, and if you're like working on multiple languages like JavaScript and Python. You have to remember a lot of stuff which you cannot. So whenever I'm programming, I usually have a tab of Google opened at all times, so I can just search something. So yeah, we're sidetracking here. So that is what this HTML is for. And this lang attribute, I think I didn't show you this before. It just mentions that you're using the English language here. If you're using some other language, then put the code of that language. For like, for example, for Malayalam it's MAL. So here it's English, so I'm not going to change that. So yeah, I think I've covered pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. So yeah, it doesn't look good. That's because we're only using HTML. We actually need to use CSS to make it look better. I'll be covering CSS tomorrow, so until then I hope you can just I hope you're making your own resume page as I was doing the video. If you didn't, at least start from tomorrow. I should have said that in the beginning. I implore you to just whenever I'm doing this tutorial, just follow me, and if you think that I'm going fast, you can just pause the video and then try and catch up. And so I would really like you to make these pages. Like, I'll be working on this resume page for the rest of the course while I'm teaching. So I would like you to do this code, write this code along with me, which would be better. And also today I would like you to make your own resume page like this, and then take a photo, and then take a screenshot, and then put it on the Slack. Yeah, so yeah, if you're a part of the Learn from Home program of Tenga Hub, you will be able to check, you will have access to this Slack channel. So yeah, and by the way, I've been putting all these polls up, but nobody seems to be responding much. Why is it that, like, I've been asking questions here to know kind of like know what you guys are like, what kind of people you are, so I can modify my videos accordingly. So that, like, there are 78 members here, and then the only people who answered my poll is 21 people. What? And usually I see the same few people responding to my messages. Where there are 78 of them, where are you guys? Just respond to my messages, okay? The main use of the Slack is that you interact with each other, and then you share experiences and all that, and it will help me to understand how to make these videos, right? I mean, all 78 of you might have different preferences for learning, that you might learn in different ways, and having a general idea of how you guys learn, or getting feedback from you helps a lot, because I cannot see you guys. Even if I'm doing a call, I won't be able to see you guys or your expressions or anything. Whenever I take classes, that thing is a good feedback for me. It's an instant feedback. When I'm teaching something, and if I see students are bored, then I know that I have to change my style somehow. But when I'm doing in this format, I cannot do that. So the only form of feedback I have is from your messages from the Slack. So please start interacting in the Slack, not just giving me feedback. I want you to put your progress inside the Slack. So I want you to make your own resume, and then take a screenshot and post it on Slack. When you're taking a screenshot, just put it in full screen, and then take a screenshot. How you can, in Windows there's a snipping tool, in Ubuntu it has its own features. I'm not going to get into that. I'm pretty sure you can all take screenshots. So I ask you to make a resume. I'm going to ask you every day to put your progress. Like, after you make a resume page, take a screenshot. Here I've only added education and professional experience. I hope that you will add something else, like add the projects that you've done, your hobbies and such things. Just make a resume page, okay, uh, and put the screenshot over here, and the rest of you, just whenever a person posts something, give them feedback. You can give thumbs up here and all that. uh, you know put some feedbacks, add reaction and put a feedback like this. So yeah, oh, I didn't reply to this. Let me see. Yes. Can you do that without my permission? I don't know. Anyway, in just do this, okay? Be active in this channel. It will be beneficial for you, it will be beneficial for me, and it turn again beneficial for you again. So yeah, do that. And yeah, it would really be great if I could get feedback from you guys. I know these aren't like really good tutorials. There'll probably be better tutorials, like paid ones that are available online, like on Udemy or Coursera. Those guys have time to prepare and make these tutorials. I really don't, because uh, even though I'm home and home all the time, I have a lot of work to do. I'm working on my final year project, and there are some other projects that I'm doing. I do web designing and development as a freelancer, so I have some work in that. So I'm not always free. So I'm being honest here. I'm just doing this. Like, I have experience conducting classes. Like, I have taught people web designing and GitHub. Those are the two most common things I've done. Common workshops I've done. I've taught people web designing, GitHub, and all that. And so what you're seeing is from experience. I know what to teach from experience. I know I should start with the HTML head and body and all that because of that. So I'm not doing much of a preparation here. I know that, but I'm trying my best. So yeah, even when I'm not quarantined, I'm always working. So there's no difference between my usual routine and then what I'm right now. Usually I'm in my hostel and doing all this stuff. And yeah, it's like that meme. If I can find the meme, I'll put it in the video. My activities are different from before the corona. So my point here is your feedback would be great. If you're not in the Slack channel, you can also comment on my YouTube video. That'd be great. So yeah, like this guy did, he gave me a feedback. I wasn't nervous, by the way, but I think this is the way I talk. So yeah, that's it for this session, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Even if you have any doubts, put it on the Slack chat or YouTube or whatever. I'll try and clarify your doubts. Seriously, do that. That's another kind of feedback for me. If a lot of you asking the same doubts, and I know that I didn't do a certain thing properly, I'll probably, if a lot of people are asking the same doubt, I'll probably put it in the next video or something. So yeah, all these help me a really lot. It helps a lot, and in turn I can do better at teaching you guys. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow then.